Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here, we are live, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a 1 in the live chat, and then we can get today's stream started. Please drop that 1 to let me know you can see and hear me clearly. As we're waiting for the ones to come into the live chat, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to push this video throughout the YouTube algorithm, right? Also, please subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms, and don't forget to follow me on Telegram and Rumble. It is extremely important that you do that. Please follow me on Telegram and Rumble. The link will be in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Now that I can see that you can all see and hear me clearly, let's get into today's show. And today, I want to discuss a little conspiracy theory that I see being pushed on CNN. And it's also obviously getting pushed on MSNBC as well. And it's this conspiracy theory that's being pushed around in which they're starting to say that now, apparently, there's a little secret between Trump and Speaker Johnson, right? And that secret is that apparently they plan on overthrowing the election if Donald Trump loses. Now, it's an unsubstantiated theory that isn't rooted in any type of facts at all whatsoever. There's no evidence of any of this at all whatsoever. But when you are part of the DNC and when you are part of the DNC press, you can push all type of conspiracy theories without any fear of repercussions. So let's get into this right now. Let's get into this little conspiracy theory that we're going to see here pushed by, I believe his name is Dan Goldman, Representative Dan Goldman here on CNN, to which he will receive absolutely no pushback, right? Just say whatever you want and it flies. Let's get into it.
Donald Trump hinted yesterday in his speech that he has some secret with Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, you wonder, why did Donald Trump come to New York 9 days before the election? The state is going to go to Kamala Harris. And the answer is that the House really runs through New York. There are 7 races that could go either way in the House, and that will likely determine the majority. And make no mistake, the House, we get sworn in on January 3rd. On January 6th, the certification of the Electoral College will happen again, and as we know from 2021. Whoever is in control of the House, of Congress, will be able to have a lot of say on what happens on January 6th. And I suspect, we don't know, but I suspect Donald Trump's little secret plan with Mike Johnson is a backup plan for when he loses, and he tries to go to the House of Representatives to throw out the Electoral College, the certification from the states, and have the House of Representatives under the leadership and the control and the gavel for Mike Johnson, and try to overturn this election. It was the exact reverse in January 6, 2021. You had Mike Pence, the vice president, who was presiding over the joint session, but you had Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who were presiding over Congress. If it's the reverse, the Republicans have a lot more opportunity and a lot more possibilities for overturning this election. And that's what this was about yesterday. That, I believe, is what Donald Trump's secret with Mike Johnson was. And that's why he's here, is because the House majority runs through New York.
So he's talking all the way around in circles, up the block, down the block with his tinfoil hat on, creating something out of absolutely nothing. Literally creating something out of absolutely nothing. But I want you to see what happens here right now when she presses him slightly on his fear-mongering, when she presses him slightly on the fact that, you don't know any of this to actually really be true. She's going to ask him a basic yes or no question. And I want you to see how he completely crumbles. He spoke very clearly just now when he was pushing this conspiracy theory that isn't founded on anything. But now when she presses him to just give a simple yes or no answer, watch how he starts malfunctioning.
Congressman, we're up against 7 o'clock, so just a yes or no answer. You're saying you believe that Donald Trump has a plan with Mike Johnson already to try to overturn the presidential election?
Yes or no, please.
I think the secret yesterday that he referenced very likely may relate to his compact with Mike Johnson as a backup plan for when he loses to overturn this election on January 6th.
All right.
You see how when she wanted him to just give a simple yes or no answer, so you're saying that this is what they're actually going to do? Now all of a sudden he's stumbling and bumbling. Now all of a sudden he's stuttering. Now all of a sudden he can't really get his words together too clearly, as he was speaking clearly before when he was speaking foolishness and lies, because he doesn't want to write a check that he can't really cash as it pertains to lawsuits, which you actually spreading misinformation, right? Now, the thing is this: you can say whatever you want to say and draw whatever conclusions that you want to draw, right? You can speculate on whatever you want to speculate on. But what's aggravating and annoying is the fact that these people get to come up here and spout conspiracy theories literally based on nothing. But if you want to respond to these conspiracy theories, you're the one that has to tread lightly. There was an MSNBC clip that I wanted to play, and you know MSNBC always does the most, but I didn't bother to waste my time because they're so extra with it that despite the fact that I'd be referencing what would be considered a mainstream media outlet, despite the fact that I would be referencing that and referencing them, I could still get dinged for literally repeating their words and then building upon that. That's how ridiculous things are getting here, right? And as they're projecting, talking about the overturning of elections, as they're projecting concerning shenanigans that may occur in between the election and January 6th, they openly deny actual shenanigans and don't speak on actual shenanigans that are actually occurring surrounding the elections. And once again, case in point, going back to what I was saying earlier about having to dot your I's, cross your T's, you got to talk in circles if you want to respond to what they have to say. The very fact that I have to say shenanigans speaks volumes, because I can't really say what I want to say, even though what I want to say isn't anything like negative or wrong or cruel. But when it comes to the DNC and their censorship on social media, on YouTube, you just better be careful. They can say what they want to say, but what they say is law. What they say is gospel. If you have the audacity to respond to them, your channel, your social media platform may be at any moment, anytime. But I want to get into some actual shenanigans that they don't want to report on. Because like I said, as they push these fake conspiracy theories that aren't true, there are actual conspiracies, right? People that are conspiring together and collusions and stuff like that, that's actually going on. So I want to get into this first story first. Let's get into this very quickly. Some of you may know about this. Some of you may not. Let's jump into this over here. So this story right here reads: Virginia asked Supreme Court to allow voter rolls purge before election. That title is very deceptive. Some of you may know about this already. Some of you may not. But it's very deceptive when they say Virginia asked Supreme Court to allow voter rolls purge before the election. It's not a voter rolls purge before the election just to be doing it. What the governor of Virginia was attempting to do is remove non-citizens off the voter rolls. Those who are actually self-identified as non-citizens that are registered. He attempted to get them removed by way of executive order. But surprise, surprise, Joe Biden, with Obama's court-appointed judges, said, no, those non-citizens are going to stay on the voter rolls, and they will be able to participate in this year's election, despite the fact that we know that they are non-citizens. All right. So let's get into this right now, because CNN and MSNBC, they're not going to really speak on this much, right? They won't do that. But if I speak on it, despite the fact that it's rooted in actual facts, somehow this is misinformation, disinformation. In an executive order on August 7th, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin ordered state election officials to expedite the use of data from the state's Department of Motor Vehicles to identify and cancel the voter registration of suspected non-citizens unless they could verify their citizenship within 14 days. A federal court found that the database flagged and canceled the registration of at least some eligible citizens, and that those voters were unaware of the fact that they were no longer able to vote. They never specify how many of those voters that they say some actually are. They never specify that. What we do know is that there was roughly around, if I remember correctly, 1,600 non-citizens that were removed from the voter rolls. Out of that 1,600, apparently some were citizens. Some. Understand, if we already know that 1,600 people were removed, and we know that some were citizens, if that number was a large number, like half or even a quarter, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing that this is some sort of mass voter purge that's being done by a crazed Republican MAGA maniac. But because that number is probably somewhere around, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 or even 20 out of 1,600, you're not going to hear about it. Because then the next logical step would be, okay, well, that 10, 15, maybe even 20, I'll even grant you 100. I'll say 100 out of 1,600. Just reinstate them on the voter rolls and remove the other 1,500. That's the logical thing to do. But when you're talking about the Biden administration, logic doesn't really hold up because they're not about that. They're about the very thing that they love to accuse Trump and MAGA maniacs apparently of, because they're the ones who are always projecting. So now, given everything that I just said, what was the response by the Biden administration? Here was the response. The Biden administration, along with civic and immigrant rights groups, illegal immigration groups, went to the federal court in Alexandria, Virginia on October 11th to challenge the voter purge program. They argued that it violated the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, a 1993 law that generally bars states from systematically removing ineligible voters within 90 days of a federal election. Now, wait just a moment, there's more. In an order on October 25th, Gills barred the state from continuing a systematic program intended to remove the names of ineligible voters from registration lists less than 90 days before the November 5th, 2024 federal general elections. Although she left open the possibility that the state could still remove some voters on a case-by-case basis, for example, those with a criminal conviction and those who have died. So if you're a citizen of this country, but you're a convicted criminal, we'll remove them immediately, expeditiously. You can take them off. A day or two before the election, you can remove them. But confirmed non-citizens who self-identify as non-citizens that are on the voter roll, can't remove them. Leave them on. U.S. citizen who unfortunately is a convicted criminal, get him out of there ASAP. Confirmed non-citizen who self-identifies as a non-citizen, leave them on. And if they vote in the 2024 election, they vote. It is what it is. But you got to leave them on. The state went to the Fourth Circuit asking to put Gill's order on hold. But a 3-judge panel made up of 2 Obama appointees and 1 Biden appointee denied the request on Sunday. Are any of us surprised about this? Are any of us surprised about it? Writing that it was unpersuaded that Virginia's program complied with the NVRA. They love talking about Trump appointed judges, Trump appointed judges, Trump appointed judges. But you can see the Biden and Obama appointed judges here that have no problem with non-citizens being on their voter roll. They don't see an issue with it. They can care less. It's not a problem to them. Now, if you're a U.S. citizen who has who is a convicted criminal and you serve your time, right? You paid your debt back to society, but you do have a record. Well, you can take him off because you're a citizen. So you get you out of here. But once again, confirmed non-citizen, Biden and Obama's appointees will keep you on because we all know who that actually benefits. We all know who it benefits. Now, I want to get into this clip here of the governor of Virginia just essentially going off about losing this, right? About losing this case. And I think it's important to hear what he has to say. So let's jump into that right now.
This is a stunning.
Rewind it back just a little bit. And please hit the like button if you haven't already. And shout out to those who are showing their contributions to the channel via Super Chat. I appreciate you. And I will read them at the end of the stream.
Yeah, Harris, this is a stunning ruling by a federal judge who is ordering Virginia to reinstate individuals who have self-identified as non-citizens back on the voter rolls. And what's even more astounding is the vast majority of these folks had presented immigration documents confirming that they were non-citizens, and we recently had that verified by federal authorities. So here we are with a judge saying, put people back on the voter rolls who you know are non-citizens. And this is under a law in Virginia that's been in effect since 2006. It has been applied by Republican and Democrat governors alike into this 90-day period. And here we are 11 days before a presidential election, and a federal judge is ordering them back on the voter rolls. It's astounding to me that this could possibly happen. I mean, listen, common sense says non-citizens aren't on the voter rolls, but the Constitution and the law say it as well. And that's why we are immediately petitioning the Fourth Circuit for an emergency stay here on this injunction. And we will immediately go to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary.
Look,
So we'll see where things go moving forward. But the reality is this: I don't think anything is going to move forward. They're going to remain on. They're going to remain on. They shouldn't. It's completely ridiculous and nonsensical, but it's going to happen. Why? Because Biden and Obama appointees decided so. Biden and Obama have no issue with non-citizens being on voter rolls, even though they have self-identified as non-citizens. And as the governor said, they checked it even through their federal registration. It's all legit, non-citizens. But guess what? They're going to be able to vote in this year's election. Now, if you let CNN and MSNBC tell it, or any Vote Blue, no matter who, tell it, I'm the one pushing conspiracy theory nonsense, even though these are facts backed up by the federal government itself, based off of what the governor stated. It's facts. They're self-identified. But I want to move over here now, too. Let's shift over to North Carolina, because North Carolina, as we all know, is a coveted battleground state. And I want you to see what's going on over here concerning North Carolina. And it also affirms the need for voter IDs, right? It also affirms the need for voter IDs. So let's get into this right now. Let's jump into the story here.
Wickersham. And for Scott Wickersham, in an election that's expected to be tight, every ballot counts. But it wasn't until Channel 9 got involved that one man got his vote back.
Enthused about voting early, Connor Brennan says he got quite the shock Tuesday when he took his lunch break to go cast a ballot at the Bank of America Stadium site.
To think of how easy it was for this to happen, it's thought-provoking.
When he thought he would be headed back to the booth, the poll worker instead told him he actually could not vote.
So somehow someone went to early vote, had my first name, last name, date of birth, and changed my address and was able to vote as me.
That's very alarming.
It's very alarming.
The situation,
Matter of fact, let me let it go.
understandably, raised all kinds of suspicion.
Very alarming.
It's very alarming.
The situation, understandably, raised all kinds of suspicions.
Is it just the voting part, or do I have a bigger problem with the identity theft piece?
He says he left not knowing where.
He said, is it just the voting part or the bigger problem with the identity theft? I'm going to let this video play some more. There's maybe about a minute and a half left. But I wanted to share this with you all very quickly with how easy it is to do this stuff. If there's anybody that lives in LA that's in the live chat right now, please let me know. And if you voted in the 2020 election, please remind me and refresh my memory. I could have swore I remembered in the 2020 election that at least when I went to go vote, I had to provide like an ID, right? I had to show that I actually lived where I say I lived, right? When I went there, I had to provide at least my driver's license. If I remember correctly, I could have swore I had to do that. Is there anybody who lives in LA that in 2020 you had to show some sort of proof that you lived where you claim to live? I asked that because of this. What I do remember for a fact is during the midterms, 2022, during the midterms, I went to, participate and vote. And I will never forget, it was at a school, right, an elementary school, pull up to the elementary school. And Jenny Lamb said I had to show proof. Okay, so it wasn't just me. I had to show proof as well in 2020. Now, I'm curious, Jenny Lamb, if you had this same experience during the midterms, right? Because during the midterms, I went to the elementary school to, cast my vote and do my thing as far as voting is concerned. And I'll never forget, I pulled out my driver's license, because obviously you should see ID to know that I'm who I say I am, right? Duh. Like, why wouldn't you need that? And she was like, "Oh no, you don't need ID. You don't need that. Just what's your name?" Okay. I gave them my name and your address. I gave them my address, and they were like, "Here you go." I was like, "What?" In my head, I didn't say anything to her because what am I going to say to her? What am I going to do? You know what I mean? But in my head, I was just like, that's it. That's it. I just gave you my name and I recited my address. And here you go vote. No ID was required. She told me to put that away. I had my ID in my head, driver's license. She was like, "Oh no, don't need that ID. What do you need that for? You crazy? Just take this and go vote." It's completely ridiculous. But that's how easy it is. That's how easy it is to find yourself in a situation such as this. At least that's how easy it is here in LA. That's how easy it is here. And shout out to Complex Design. He said driver's license is required, but you can be illegal and get a driver's license here in California. That's true as well. That's true as well. But let's carry on with it. I just wanted to give you guys my experience just to show how easy it is for this situation to happen to you. And this is why voter ID is so critical and why you should have it. But if you let the CNN folks that are pushing conspiracy theories over there with Representative Dan Goldman about Trump and Speaker Vance, if you let them tell it, voter ID is somehow racist and xenophobic. It's racist because apparently black folks, we don't know how to get IDs. I don't know. I guess we don't know where the nearest DMV is. And even if we knew where the nearest DMV is, we can't read, we can't write, we can't speak. We don't have transportation to get to the nearest DMV. I mean, we barely know how to walk, apparently. So that would be racist to me. Somehow. It would be racist, right? But then funny enough, if there was a Kamala Harris rally going on in LA and I wanted to attend, guess what I'd have to pull out in order to attend? I have to pull out my ID. I'd have to pull out my ID in order to attend. So it isn't racist or xenophobic to require an ID to attend a rally, political rally. No, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to go vote, no ID required, because that would be some form of discrimination. That is completely crazy and insane. So let this man carry on with his story here.
where to turn, and also wondering if he would be
Let me rewind it back just a little bit.
Is it just the voting part, or do I have a bigger problem with the identity theft piece?
He says he left not knowing where to turn, and also wondering if he would be able to participate at all in the upcoming election.
All they could offer up at the time was that I filled out a provisional ballot.
But as we were interviewing Connor, I received a return call from Mecklenburg County Elections Director Michael Dickerson. After explaining the situation, Dickerson did some digging.
Yeah.
Is that your correct?
No, that's not my.
That's not his correct.
Finally, an answer for this very concerned voter. There's another Connor Brennan in Charlotte, but that person has a different date of birth and address.
So
You see why ID is needed? I mean, that's crazy.
what they did was put that in as this new one in as you.
Yeah.
Huh. What they did was put that in as this.
Another Connor Brennan in Charlotte, but that person has a different date of birth and address.
So what they did was put that in as this new one in as you.
Yeah.
Huh. That's odd.
How much of this involves human error?
It's all human error.
Dickerson explains election workers incorrectly associated our Connor's information with one that voted in South End.
Well, what should have happened was back here, we should have noticed it before it went out, that this is a different date of birth.
Dickerson says the other voter's ballot is fine, and this Connor Brennan is now cleared to vote.
The good thing was we had a paper trail, a record of everything that went through there so we could easily correct.
No, you didn't have all that so you can easily correct it. You needed the local news outlet to get involved in order to correct it because it was embarrassing. If the local news outlet didn't get involved and put this on blast, he probably would have just lost his ability to vote because apparently no ID was required, right? Or you have a whole nother date of birth, address, everything, and that just flew, no problem. That's crazy. That's the very need for a voter ID. That's the very need for one. But once again, if you let CNN and MSNBC and, Obama and Biden appointed judges tell it, we don't need that stuff. It's somehow discriminatory towards you and me. If I remember correctly, here in California, recently, Gavin Newsom signed into law a new law that makes it illegal for local municipalities, right, governing bodies, to require an ID to vote. I believe it was it Huntington Park? I don't remember if it was Huntington. I think was it Huntington Park, Huntington Beach. I can't remember what city it was. Maybe somebody can tell me in the live chat. I don't remember what city it was, but they passed a bill in their local municipality, I believe it's called, where an ID was required in order to vote in the local elections of that city. Well, Gavin Newsom got wind of that, I'm sure alongside with the pro-illegal immigration crowd, and they were able to strike that down. And they were able to strike it down because Gavin signed a law that made it illegal. You can't do that. The local governing bodies of said city, pick your city. You cannot, your city council or your mayor and whatnot, you cannot create laws that require the citizens that reside in your city to provide their ID to vote in local elections. Can't do that. Can't do it. That's against the law now. So once again, as I state all the time, the DNC, they're always projecting. Every time they say, thank you very much, Mc007, Huntington Park. It was Huntington Park. It was Huntington Park. That's where it was. But every time they're talking all this conspiracy theory nonsense about Trump's going to overturn the election and all this other kind of stuff, they're always actually talking about themselves. Because just in these two stories that we discussed here, especially the first one happening in Virginia, where you have Obama and Biden court appointed judges, who see on paper, you see that these are non-citizens on the voter rolls, but you're not going to take them off anyways. These are the ones that engage in this foolishness the most. Yet when folks like me report on it, you're in trouble of getting red flagged. I'm the one that has to tread lightly, speak gingerly, tread gingerly, dot all your I's, cross all your T's, and we still might, right? Still might get you out of here. But with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Shout out to Carlton Way 1 for the support. I appreciate you, Carlton Way. Shout out to John Gullery for 17 months of service. I appreciate you both. Thank you, John Gullery. And shout out to my man Saul for always keeping the lights on at my home and keeping my family fed. He said, just here to support. I'm 34, by the way. Okay, man, I remember I asked for your age. Okay, 34. You're 34. You're still relatively young. You're young, man. You're young, man. You know, I'm a little older than you. I'm 39. But you know, we're still young, right? We're still young. I think I'm still young. That's what I would like to believe. But anyways, man, thank you all for joining me today. Hit the like button on your way out if you haven't. Share this video on your social media platforms. Follow me on Telegram and Rumble. That is very important. Follow me on Telegram and Rumble. And I will catch you guys next time. Have a great afternoon and a safe one. Peace.